of light and see, I can't read this, waves beyond our visual spectrum. Did you hear that? Why do we call it the third eye? We call it that because someone told us it was the third eye. They realized that it was made with the same materials inside your head, like an eye. It sits right in the center of your head, but they said it was an undeveloped eye. And scientists said it was a useless organ. It had no need or no goal, or it didn't do anything, no purpose. When in fact, this is the seat of the soul. Your pineal gland is an eye that can see way beyond what you call your physical, your outer eyes can see. That's why I call it the first eye, not the third eye. Why would they be telling you that it's the third eye? So you wouldn't put so much importance on it. You got to remember who's controlling the world, who's controlling your language, your words, who's controlling what you see. That's why I said we've been getting photoshopped and worked on ever since the beginning. And it's up to us to change the spell. I would begin to call that the first eye, and it'll work a little better. You'll be able to realize and use it and utilize it better because you're putting it first, because it comes first. It sits inside the brain at the peak, the pinnacle, the high point. It's the most high. Your highness, the temple, the seat of the soul. It wants orders from who? The captain, the boss, from you. It's listening for you to give orders. Do you know about the Pinocchio syndrome? First of all, Pinocchio, let's break his name down. Pin or pin is pineal. Occhio is eye. Occhio is eye in Italian. Pinocchio is a story about the pineal. And you got the little guy here, Jimmy the Cricket. I don't know if y'all remember this, but Jimmy the Cricket, JC, is his conscience. He is attempting to be his higher self. Even though Pinocchio has got big, big eyes, right? He's not focusing on who he really is because he's a puppet. He's fake. He's not real. He's a puppet who would like to be a real boy. But he lies. And when he lies, his nose grows. When you lie, your nose grows. What are we talking about here? This is a very deep story. Jimmy the Cricket is JC or Jesus Christ. Jesus the Christ, or the Christ, means crystallized imagination. Focusing on the goal. Jimmy's job here is to keep him on the narrow path of being what he is really attempting to be, which is a real boy. But he gets caught up in mischief because he's a puppet and he's being guided by the wolf, and he ends up, in places that he's not supposed to be. He ends up drinking, smoking, doing all these things of the world because he was led by the world, by the wolf, by the Lord, by the landlord, by the people controlling things, by the judges, by the system, by the politics. He is being puppeteered. Can you say that? He's being puppeteered? We may make up some words today, if that's okay. He's being controlled. But he'd like to be real. Now, the interesting thing is that we're born in a family that lies. You know the term, the statement, you're born in sin. So sin is an archery term. Sin means when you draw your bow and shoot for the target, you miss the target. That's called a sin. Remember, these people that wrote these things that back in the day, they had certain tasks, certain crafts that they were into. And these were the writings of people who were archers. Like, what's his name? Cupid is an archer in the Valentine story, which is deep within itself when you understand you overstand, understand, and withstand and exostand what that story is really about. A lot of these stories have an esoteric concept on the other side. Pinocchio is not real. He's a puppet. A lot of times your family were puppets, being controlled by a system, being programmed by religions and politics and people that run the world, that gave you the tell-lie vision, who told you what was real. See, people's emotions have been being controlled by the puppet masters for a very long time. It's up to you to cut the strings when you realize that you're a puppet and you've been lying. What do you mean I've been lying, Dr. B? I don't lie. Well, you do. And let's break that down. Ever since your first Christmas story, and your parents told you about Santa Claus. Now, not all of us got that. Some of us kind of had a different type of a family. But think about it. Your parents, they're like God in the beginning. That's your God. Your parents, or whoever's taking care of you. When you're a child, those people are the truth. You're modeling them. You're absorbing the way that they move, the way they talk, the way they live. You're taking that energy on as you. You become self-reliant on them as they're giving you life. Your vision of the world comes from your family. What they've agreed to, you agree to too. What they agreed to, you agree to too, over time. Santa Claus is not what you think, as you're about to find out. When you realize that your parents told you things about the fairy, the tooth fairy, putting a tooth under the pillow. What is that about? She can come through the wall with money and take your tooth. Why does she need your tooth? What does she do with teeth? Is she the bone collector? Are they collecting DNA? But that story is not based on facts. So when you grow up in a family that creates a paradigm for you, that becomes your vortex, your belief system, your world. It's not the earth, it's your world, your concept, your perception. Your perception comes from your people. And a lot of times the perceptions that were given to you by your people were lies. A lie is a statement that's flat. It's a flat line. It's not alive. It's not vertical. The statement is not moving you up and elevating your life. A lot of the statements and beliefs that we have were based on flatline beliefs and based on somebody, right, who told you something, who told them something. And at the end, you find out that it's the farmer or the Lord or the masters of the world that have created these stories. I'm not talking about what you call the God, the Lord. I'm talking about the landlord. I'm talking about the people that create the government. I'm talking about the people that have controlled things since the beginning, since you've been here. This very small group of people that would like to keep everybody in a certain place, to keep them on a farm like sheep. It is up to you to realize that you're on a farm and you're living in a pharmacy. And there is no farm to see, but the seeing of the farm has been created and photoshopped into your mind and impressed, and you're impressive, and you think that you're impressed by being something great. You've chosen to be the Democrat, the Republican. You've chosen your religion based on what you were told. And a lot of these things were based on lies. I'm not saying that religion and these belief systems are not good. I'm saying that the truth of it is much deeper, and you've got to go into the real truth of it and find your own truth and not just go along to get along with the old okie dokie. Yes, sir, boss. You've got to wake up. And when you wake up, you begin to do research and you begin to realize that this whole thing is a flat line until you begin to live. Why does Pinocchio's nose, this is the pineal, he's the representation of the pineal. This is a pineal story. Why does his nose grow when he lies? Y'all ready for this? When you lie, your nose grows. You become nosy. When you are not settled and have a strong foundation within yourself or within a group that's being honest and open and clear and dealing with facts, your nose grows. In other words, your senses are looking for something real. See, there's a natural sense you were born with. There's a natural sensation that you were born with. There was a natural knowledge that you were born with. But you begin to let it go once you agree to the stories that you were given throughout life. But your inner self, your pineal, is always looking for the truth. So what happens is, since you have become a lie, you're eating things that basically are not giving you nutrition, but they were told you it was good for you. You're listening, you're learning things in school. A lot of it is not going to help you. It's going to reduce you. You're living in struggle because your family may have talked the language of struggle. How hard it's going to be. It's going to be tough to get married. It's going to be tough to do this. Everything is hard. It's a struggle. You listen to the news. It's hard. It's always a war going on. There's always some unrest. And this becomes your world. And you've become what? You've become soaked and absorbed in this world. But this world is not the earth. It is not the place. Because if things were so bad and so terrible, the planet would not be spinning right now. We wouldn't be here. This would be like a charcoal briquette floating through space. They'd have fried this thing a long time ago. Your parents did their best. Don't be mad. Don't be upset. The people who are controlling things, they did this. Why? To test you. It's an obstacle course. You got to become the bomb, the healing bomb, the love bomb. You've got to break out of the pharmacy. You've got to break out of the farm. You got to be the black sheep that jumps over the fence. But if you stay in the farm, you lie. Why? Because you're suppressing your ancestral gifts. And if you are suppressing your ancestral gifts, then you are suppressing who you really are. And you can't be spiritual if you are suppressing your ancestral gifts. If you keep doing the same thing over and over every day, getting the same results, then you've got to break the spell. The spell is on you because you allowed the spell to be put on you. Now you've got to break that spell by breaking the lie. Otherwise, your nose grows. Because you're trying to sense some reality, but there is none. And you become nosy. You become nosy because you start minding somebody else's business. And you start believing in some stuff that somebody created. And you might call it truth. You may call it real. You may call it whatever. But it's a lie. And they say the truth hurts. Isn't that something? You even told me the truth hurts. What do you mean the truth hurts? The truth hurts, y'all? Think about that program that's been put in your head. Repeat it over and over. The truth hurts. So don't tell the truth. Don't tell the person you love the truth. Why? Because they'll be sad. They may cry. Well, crying is good for the soul. Let some of that old energy off. Because when you cry, these little particles break off called dendrites that are nerves that are holding on to the issue that's stuck in your tissue. The emotional energy that's in your tissue breaks off when you cry. You got to release it. You've got to celebrate success, no matter how small. You've got to release. You've got to inhale new life. You've got to release old life. You've got to be ready to what? Create your own vortex. You can't be like Pinocchio with big eyes in everybody else's business, being caught up in the circus, being caught up in the smoking and the drinking and the just getting along. Even your language. The language for most people is their lockdown. Your language could be your liberator or your lockdown, how you speak. Because your language speaks into the world what you are expecting. Whew. So we have to stop lying so that your nose will not grow. So you stop being nosy, because once you become too nosy, then you become newsy. Think about that, newsy and nosy. You're in everybody else's stuff but yours. You're willing to help everybody but you. Check out Pinocchio. There's a lot of versions of this story, but the original one I like a lot. Pinocchio cannot become real. He's a puppet. Are you a puppet? Have you been a puppet? Are you ready to cut the strings? Let's go. You know, it's interesting, in the Vatican, they got a big pine cone. And throughout a lot of the powerful places on the planet, they got a pine cone symbol. Because the pine cone is a symbol of the pineal. The pineal is the seat of your soul. The pineal is what is picking up information from the galaxy, from the universe, from the cosmos. It's an antenna. It is what's reading the environment. It can read information faster than your eyes. It can hear It actually can hear information that your ears cannot hear. It can taste. It has a sensation in a spectrum that's much wider than what you physically can detect. So the people who run the world know to activate the pineal. So they keep having symbols all around to remind you of the power of the pineal. So here in the Vatican, they got the pineal symbol right in the middle. And they got two peacocks here. The peacocks represent resurrection. What? Think about that. Vision, watchfulness, immortality. In Kemet, also known as Egypt, it represents the all-seeing eye of Horus or Heru, the pineal. The peacock are next to the pineal because they are helping in the vision. They are part of the energy field that creates life. The peacock, when it spreads its wing, its feathers, it's all eyes. It's the all-seeing eyes. The pineal is the all-seeing eye. The peacock is also a symbol of the all-seeing eye. The pineal gland produces the hormone melatonin, which regulates sleep and waking cycles. The pineal also emits a controversial substance called pinealine or pineal beta carboline, a free radical scavenger and a super antioxidant. What is an antioxidant? An antioxidant is a material that protects your cells from damage. See, oxygen will cause things to oxidize. So, like if you cut an apple, right, and you leave it out, it begins to turn brown really quickly because the air is oxidizing it, which means that it's breaking it down into a compost to take it back to the earth. So if you leave that apple there, it's going to break down into smaller and smaller particles. The mycelium or the mushrooms or the fungi in the air are going to take it and reduce it to the earth so that now it can become a part of the earth, a part of the humus, it becomes like fertilizer. So oxygen will turn things into fertilizer. So antioxidants are things that keep that protect yourselves from rusting, from oxidizing. You see, when you realize that these antioxidants are protecting you on your journey, you'll use more of them. So you got your vitamin C, you got your oranges, your lemons, all of these things. We'll talk about these in some, make sure that you're on our email list at elevationtime.com so that you can get the emails. And there's a lot of classes there right now that talk about these things. So I'm not going to get deep into that today. That's elevationtime.com. That's our website where we, disseminate a lot of information and have products that can help you on your journey. Listen carefully. This pinealine is so much stronger than vitamin C in any other type of free radical scavenger that scientists don't even understand how it works. Pineal beta carboline. It's a carbon substance. The basis of everything is based in carbon. The carbon molecule is what gives you your material, your body. This pinealine also produces or helps to produce serotonin, the success hormone, along with our gut microbiome. Remember earlier when I said clap and you're stimulating serotonin by saying, I've made it, I've achieved something. Think about your life. How many things have you not celebrated? We celebrate when they tell us to celebrate, but imagine you're celebrating everything. Celebrate right now, everything. Celebrate being here. This is a huge event. When you celebrate success, it also activates the pineal to begin to tell it to signal the pathways for serotonin to open up. The gut microbiome is in your gut is the largest, a group of nerves in your body. And in your intestines, there are millions of life forms called the gut microbiome. There's more of these beings living in you than there is of you. Did I say that correctly? There's more of these beings inside your gut that make up your gut microbiome. They help to digest food. They actually fight off disease. Is the first line of defense. Well, the second line of defense of your immune system. The first line of defense of your immune system is your skin. So the gut microbiome is living. And when the gut microbiome is balanced, when your gut is balanced, you feel things at a different rate. You feel it in your gut. You get a gut feeling. But if you've been eating food that's dead, you've been eating processed food, you've been eating food that doesn't digest well, food that has preservatives, foods that are, not even digestible. The average food that people eat today, it takes more energy to digest it than it can give to your body. Think about that for a second. You're eating something that may not digest for weeks, sometimes months. They even say years. But when you have a balanced gut microbiome, you can make more serotonin because the bulk of serotonin is made in the gut. And that serotonin, as we go on, you're going to see how important this serotonin is. Pinoline also has the ability to promote neurogenesis, which means it can produce new neural systems, new neural cells, and repair your nervous system. Neurogenesis. Did you know you can grow new nerves? Your entire body repairs itself in 7 years. You get new bones, new tissue, even your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your gut, right? Repairs itself. You get a new gut every 6 weeks. You get new skin every 2 weeks. Your body is always repairing itself based on what you're thinking and feeling, what you're eating, how you're acting. Now, if you're acting out on things that are not real and you've been lying to yourself, the body is not producing enough new healthy tissue because you have a what? You have a false sense of security. Your life expectancy may not be good. You're worried about how bad things are. And, you're worried about the bills. You're worried about, so many things that really aren't your business. When you get into this moment and you begin to learn how to use your pineal and project energy into the quantum field, everything changes. Your world changes. So this pineal emits this pinoline. This is huge. Neurogenesis, you mean you can grow new cells? That means you are the generator. You are the generator, the genie. I make up words all the time. So let's talk about repairing our nervous system, because our nervous system, has been under stress. Your sympathetic nervous system is receiving information from outside. All your senses are picking up information from outside, right? And that's your sympathetic nervous system. It sympathizes with everything. Every sound, every time the wind blows, everything. Everything you see, even in your peripheral vision, your sympathetic nervous system is picking that up. It is sympathetic. Your parasympathetic nervous system, it says, wait a minute, what's important for our survival and our growth and to achieve the highest vibration here? What can we do to thrive? That is your parasympathetic nervous system's job. It's like a filter. It's like grandma. Sometimes you go to your grandparents or somebody who's an elder or a master or a teacher, and you're all excited about something. And they say, well, calm down now. Calm down, boy. That stuff you talking about ain't that important. What you need to be thinking about is eating some food and drinking some good water and using the bathroom twice a day. When's the last time you used the bathroom? You're all pumped up, but you're full of shit. Whoops. Am I supposed to cuss today? I can use a few words. I see Billy smiling. We said children were going to be. And children know the words. They know more curse words than you. They got new curse words. You don't even know what they are as an adult. Anyway. So your parasympathetic nervous system is like the wise one. It is working based on your goal, based on who you are, based on who you're stating you are, based on what you're calling yourself. Because a lot of people are professors. So you think that this thing, a profession and a professor, is really great. Professor or a prophet, that's a person who professes. to profess. They profess that they're really good at their job. How many people that were professionals came to your house and did something and messed it up? So the word professional doesn't mean anything. We profess to be, spiritual. What does that really mean? A lot of folks who profess to be spiritual, some of them are angry and upset, mad all the time, but they say they're spiritual and they're conscious. Well, you might be conscious, but what are you conscious of? What are you conscious of is the question. Are you conscious of how bad it is in the world so that your sympathetic nervous system reads the information that is terrible out there and there's wolves out there and there's a saber-toothed dog, you know what I'm saying? The shark-toothed frog or the fish is going to attack you. There's wolves out there, there's bears, and it's just rough. And you hear all this drama in the news, which, in the news, they always lead with drama. They say the news story that leads is the one that bleeds. And this is coming into your sympathetic nervous system, right? And that's programming your genes that there's drama. And now you're in fight, flight, or freeze constantly. When you're in fight, fright, or freeze constantly, fright is when, you're scared and you're ready to fight sometime, or you're ready to run is when you're in flight. But some people they just freeze when you're scared of something. So this means that the average person has PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. But some people have CPTSD. That means complex post-traumatic syndrome. Think about it. This is not something that just happened in the past. If you are allowing yourself to be involved with, take in energy, or focusing on things outside of you and being nosy and newsy, your subconscious, this is important, cannot perceive or conceive of anything outside of self. Your subconscious, whatever is going on out there that you're focusing on, it thinks that that's real. And your subconscious begins to record that information into your cells. We're going to get into that real deep in a few minutes, or in about an hour. You got to take control. Because that wise one, that parasympathetic nervous system in most people in North America is not even working. So the flood of information that's coming from your environment is not being filtered. So it's all real to you. You think it's all happening. Everything they tell you, you think it's real. And you're affected by it. You're going into these states of stress 24/7. So it's just not PTSD. It's complex because you're getting new news every day, and that news is hanging you. It's the noose. We're going to show you how to break the spell today so that you can turn your parasympathetic nervous system back on so you will not be affected by so many things. So then you can be truthful with yourself and only do what is important for you and put yourself first. This peniline will help you do whatever it is you're focusing on. Peniline, which is what? An oil, a hormone that comes from the pineal. Peniline is also considered black gold by some because it has a subset of very complex molecules that have baffled modern day scientists. They can't even figure it out. There's so many molecules. There's so many, let's call them ingredients. Inside of peniline, the scientists at some point, they chose not to even study it because they couldn't get it. They couldn't understand it. They couldn't overstand it. They couldn't get over it. They couldn't get under it. So they said, leave it alone. They didn't like this pineal anyway because they said the pineal doesn't do anything. There's a whole lot of organs in your body. They say they don't do anything. So that's why they always like, don't worry about that. We're not worried about that because they want you to stay in the world based on what? What they show you, what they teach you. In the farm, just stay on the farm. Just work and work and work until you die and retire. You've worked all your life and they tell you it's time to retire, right? They give you a watch. Shouldn't they have given you that watch when you first got the job? Now you're sitting around watching a watch, watching yourself, and the watch is watching you. Who's watching who here? And why do you need all this watch and all you sitting there watching television? Because you've retired and you're tired and you're retired. And what happens when people retire? They begin to slip away. So you don't retire. You've got this black gold that you could be what? Using this golden ore, this golden oil. It is gold. And it's in everyone. Everyone has it, but it has to be activated. Names for this oil: Santa oil, sacred secretion, black gold, liquid crystal, chrism, Christ fluid, kundalini oil, anointing oil, milk and honey. Does this sound familiar? Something about the land of milk and honey? Huh? The temple, huh? The sacred oil of the genie lamp. It's just some of the names that they've given this substance, this anointing oil, this special oil that is made by the pineal. Words associated with sacred, and maybe my screen, because I can't see the whole slide. Words associated with sacred: consecrate, anoint, dedicate, set apart, ratify, ordain. You see that flower of life up there again? Focus at it. Focus on it. The flower of life at the top of your screen. Just focus on it. Words associated with this oil. Words associated with sacred. I can't see the whole slide, so that's why I'm reading it funny here. Words associated with sacred are consecrate, anoint, dedicate, set apart, ratify, and ordain. What we're going to do now is a pineal activation exercise. We're going to do a pineal activation exercise. Are you ready? So the pineal is made of crystals, calcite crystal strings. It is a crystalline device. These crystals are piezo or piezoelectric crystals, which means that there are crystals that you put pressure on them, they emit light or energy or electricity, some even sound. There is a fluid floating up and down your spine called cerebral spinal fluid. It also surrounds your brain. Your brain is floating in a bath, an ocean. Cerebral spinal fluid is one of the 7 oceans in the body, one of the 7 types of fluid. Information travels faster through fluids than it does through air. So you can, I don't know if you've ever been, swimming and you take some rocks or something, you could bang them together in the water. That sound travels much further. This is how the dolphins are able to communicate with all the dolphins at one time. All dolphins and whales communicate at the same time, as long as they're in this place called the sound channel in the water, in the ocean. So at the higher, levels of water, there is what we call warm water. And then at the bottom, there's cold water in the ocean. In the middle, there's warm water. This is where the cool water coming up and the hot water, they meet. It's called the sound channel. If you get in this place in the ocean, or even in a lake, and even some deep rivers have it, and you clack rocks or make a sound, it travels throughout the sound channel. In between, this is a place where the theta energy is. Theta is the energy, or I should say,